While there is still a small glimmer of hope for many of the figures attached to this list, when it comes to finally being given the treatment their talent and dedication undoubtedly deserves. At this current moment in time, you'll struggle to find a fan of this corner of the galaxy who would claim each of these actors were used to their full potential on the Star Wars stage. Gaga Binks here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 actors completely wasted in Star Wars. Number 10. Benicio del Toro. The announcement of the one-of-a-kind Benicio del Toro finally making a splash in the Star Wars pool in Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi left many licking their lips at the mere idea of who he could be bringing to life, and what chaos he could be set to let loose on the sequel trilogy's feature players. And with del Toro himself even noting sometime before he'd shot his first scene for the flick that, as a kid, I really liked those films, like way before I ever thought I was going to be in movies. It's clear the distinct performer was as excited as the masses were about showing up as DJ. Yet in the end, outside of being a typically enigmatic and compelling presence during Finn and Rose's unwanted detour to Canto Bight, del Toro's slicer didn't offer an awful lot to the overall tale, before stabbing the heroes in the back and wandering off into the twin sunsets, never to be seen again. Number 9. Andy Serkis. Motion capture maestro Andy Serkis's appointment as The Force Awakens' apparent big bad seemed to set the stage for yet another can't-miss portrayal for one of the most engaging thespians in the game today. Yet on the back of his sparing yet still pretty chilling usage in said Episode 7, what could have acted as Supreme Leader Snoke's real moment to shine one film later ultimately left a universally sour taste in the mouths of most taking in The Last Jedi, instead of having the unsettling Strandcast take the franchise by the throat before planting seeds for a thrilling climax with Daisy Ridley's Rey and the rest of the Resistance in the trilogy's finale. Serkis's wrinkled villain was shockingly cut down out of nowhere by Kylo Ren before Episode 8's climax. And with Serkis himself even admitting it was a bit of a shock, but I could see exactly why they were going that route, before noting how I just wish he'd survived, but who knows. It's clear fans weren't the only ones who desired a little more from Serkis's time in the Snoke saddle. Number 8. Lupita Nyong'o. If this list has highlighted one thing up to this point, it's the fact that the sequel trilogy certainly boasted its fair share of ridiculous talent. And alongside the freakishly gifted Andy Serkis and Benicio del Toro was another unquestionably brilliant performer coming off one of the most captivating turns of the decade, and an Academy Award-winning one at that in 2013's 12 Years a Slave. I am of course talking about the utterly mesmerizing Lupita Nyong'o, who, like Serkis, was also thrust into the motion capture landscape during her stint in the galaxy far away. But also, like Serkis, one of the hottest talents the business had to offer at the moment in time, wasn't exactly given much time to make a lasting impression as the mysterious Maz Kanata, despite actually appearing in every sequel flick. All in all, it often felt as though Disney simply liked the idea of having such an acclaimed performer on the team, and hadn't actually pieced together a meaningful reason for Kanata coming along for the ride, outside of handing Rey Luke's lightsaber in The Force Awakens and spouting out chunks of exposition. Number 7. Riz Ahmed. Putting together one of the most diverse and consistently outstanding bodies of work you'll find in the industry today over the course of the last few years in particular, British acting sensation Riz Ahmed can pretty much always be counted on to deliver the goods, no matter what dramatic or comedic material is laid before him. That being said, while his stunning work in everything from Nightcrawler to Sound of Metal deserves to be hugely praised and then some, the same sadly cannot be said for a number of his slightly underwhelming blockbuster appearances to date. And joining his less than thrilling turn as Venom's Carlton Drake / Riot, though that was more down to some uninspired writing than his commitment, it has to be said, was his rather forgettable showing alongside fellow Rebels Felicity Jones and Diego Luna in 2016's Rogue One. Again, it's not that Ahmed was terrible by any means, still proving his worth in former Empire pilot Bodhi Rook's few moments in the spotlight, whilst being tortured by Bor Gullet, for example, but it's hard to escape the feeling that an actor of Ahmed's pedigree was a little bit wasted here, in the bit part of exposition spouter and eventual casualty of war. Number 6. Samuel L. Jackson. Coming into George Lucas's highly anticipated return to his galaxy far away that was 1999's The Phantom Menace, you'd have been hard-pressed to find another actor as in-demand as Jurassic Park, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown icon Samuel L. Jackson was upon officially agreeing to join the Jedi Order around the time. And with said turns showcasing the sort of undeniable charisma that only Jackson seemed able to conjure up in front of a movie camera, it was assumed that the captivating actor would once again steal the show with his work as Mace Windu from Episode 1 onwards. As you're likely more than aware of by now though, that most certainly was not the case, with the baddest mother effort in the galaxy instead being handcuffed by uninspired dialogue and an all-round bland personality when donning the robes of the all-powerful Jedi Master throughout the prequels. And while he at least boasted arguably the coolest lightsaber in the game, the fact his only real highlights came when his mouth was entirely shut tells the story of a usually riveting performer utterly underutilized to say the least. Number 5. Natalie Portman. And sticking with some of the 90s most talented faces not exactly being served up the chance to really bring their true capabilities to the intergalactic table, Leon the Professional's Natalie Portman's casting in the role of Luke and Leia's eventual mother, Padme Amidala, was the sort of no-brainer that felt like a can't-miss opportunity to add yet more unquestionable acting pedigree to an already stacked roster of prequel players. However, like Samuel L. Jackson, Portman was largely restricted during her Star Wars spell, and became increasingly sidelined as the films went on. Simply put, a quick glance at Padme's overall arc from episode 1 to 3 doesn't make for the most thrilling analysis, with Amidala going from the ruler of a planet to a lovesick puppy of sorts before dying in childbirth of a broken heart, and with Portman herself remarking how the films negatively impacted her career for a spell in the wake of their disappointing release, confessing "Everyone thought I was a horrible actress after their arrival." It's clear the Oscar nominee is in agreement with the masses when it comes to the prequels not taking full advantage of her remarkable talent. Number 4. Emilia Clarke. Another star seemingly joining up with the various eclectic faces occupying this corner of the galaxy at the peak of her powers. Game of Thrones standout Emilia Clarke also learned the hard way that simply signing up to appear opposite Han Solo isn't enough to guarantee a meaty Star Wars meal to get her teeth sunk into. Taking up the spot of Solo's first real love interest by the name of Kira, Clarke's Crimson Dawn lieutenant definitely housed the potential to be another significant, strong and layered female presence within a live-action galaxy often lacking in that department. Yet despite undoubtedly acting as one of Solo, a Star Wars story's few glimmers of hope, and setting the stage for further interactions with fan-favourite presence Maul late on, the film's poor box office performance eventually left Kira in limbo shortly after. And though Clarke has gone on record to state how the character has unfinished business, and that she's even written out a ton of her backstory and future plans already, there's still no signs of life when it pertains to giving Kira the returning arc an actor of this dedication and ability evidently merits. Number 3. The Raid Stars. In what should have been the biggest open goal in Star Wars casting history in the lead up to J.J. Abrams' sequel starting The Force Awakens back in 2015, the announcement of some of the most talented and untouchable action stars currently walking the face of the earth being brought aboard should have paved the way for a wave of out-of-this-world combat sequences within the director's section of the galaxy, booting stormtroopers from pillar to post, wielding lightsabers in a way that made the prequels' freakishly athletic showings seem pedestrian in comparison. The possibilities were endless for the likes of the Raids, Iko Uwais, Yaya Ruhian, and Sisep Arif Rahman in this intergalactic setting. Yet instead of blasting them into numerous high-tech combat sequences, the trio were reduced to little more than a throwaway cameo midway through the adventure, forming part of the crime gang Kanja Club trying to get their mitts on Han Solo. The group spend more time retreating from Rathars than handing Star Wars personalities their asses in the runtime, so what a damn waste that was. Number 2. Forest Whitaker. News of Oscar-winning icon Forest Whitaker reportedly being in line for another live-action stab at the all-round partisan badass that is Saw Gerrera in this year's Andor will be music to most Star Wars fans' ears, in the wake of his other depressingly fleeting showings in the role to date. After being very much present in much of the marketing material in the lead-up to the release of Rogue One, Whitaker's actual involvement in the original trilogy prequel flick boiled down to little more than a few flickers of madness, before being blasted to oblivion on Jedha. Admittedly, Whitaker's showings in the likes of the Jedi Fallen Order video game and Rebels animated series as the controversial Resistance leader helped salvage his otherwise underwhelming first appearance as Gerrera back in 2016. But the record still shows that he's been largely underutilized on the live-action Star Wars stage thus far, with many hoping that his rumored Andor appearance will finally give the acting titan some meaty material to get stuck into during these early days of the rebellion. Number 1. John Boyega. Taking his place as one of the sequel trilogy's new set of principal players spearheading the next chapter of the Skywalker saga, the reveal of John Boyega's former stormtrooper Finn joining the good fight throughout The Force Awakens felt like the sort of refreshing development needed to catapult the franchise into exciting new territory. Only instead of doubling down on FN 2187, the story largely sidelined the wisecracking one-time First Order member in the wake of that first Episode 7 outing, with Finn often being sent on pointless side missions and being reduced to little more than comedic relief for the the most part. Boyega himself was also quick to note how he felt Finn was pushed to the side later down the road, admitting that Disney gave all the nuance to the likes of Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, and I'm the only cast member who had their own unique experience of that franchise based on their race, when talking to GQ about his time in the galaxy far, far away. And when assessing how each of the main feature characters' arcs progressed over the course of said sequels, it's hard to argue with Boyega being completely shortchanged on the compelling and detailed character front in comparison to his contemporaries. And that's our list of any other actors completely wasted in Star Wars. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more awesome articles just like the one this video you are watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you. Thank you for clicking on this video today, and hopefully I will see your faces very, very soon. Bye bye!